Hello, everyone. I am just popping in here. I know it is Good Friday for those that are celebrating, so happy Easter and Good Friday for those that celebrate. I just want to pop in really quickly with things that I'm seeing consistently from people that I am actually here. Let me just share this live stream. Sorry, let me back up a little bit. Let me share it into my group, Immigrating to Canada Strategies for Success. And I'm going to rewind a little bit, see if I'm live. Yes, I am live. So let's see if I can share this into my group first, and then I will be fully engaged with the quick live stream that I wanted to do on this very important topic. So the topic the topic is the three mistakes that can kill your Canadian job search if you are a person who is outside of Canada, looking at options for studying, working and immigrating, in the sense that for me those three things are related for the Canadian migration process. For some it'll be all three, for some it'll be one and two, and for some it'll just be straight for like for the immigration part. But the related part is the job search, or the career goals that most people want in Canada as it relates to their immigration goals. So really I see these common mistakes, and it's a common theme throughout. So I really wanted to pop in and tell you what I see are the mistakes, and give you some tips on hopefully how to improve that. So basically, mistake number one is basically not doing your research. So if you're outside of Canada and you haven't really done the research on the job market according to specific regions in Canada, provinces, cities, you're really not going to be able to have an effective job search in Canada, even from outside of Canada. So in terms of using, of course, email, job search sites, LinkedIn, all that kind of stuff, unless you do your research, you're really killing your job search goals and process for Canada. Number one, excuse me. Number two is if you're not prepared for that job search. So what does prepared mean? Prepared means, as I have basically indicated in my 5-day Canadian job search challenge, which was an daily emails, which the last one is going out today, Friday, daily emails on tips and strategies on basically how to have a proper Canadian job search strategy going on, even if you're not in Canada and don't have status in Canada. So basically not being prepared. So number one was not doing your research. That'll kill your job search. Number two is not being prepared. So what does prepared mean if you are not somebody who is obviously not in Canada, not Canadian, citizen, and trying to connect to employers who need your skills? So if you're not prepared, it means that you haven't invested the time and money that it takes to get your IELTS, which is the standard English test, which is conducted by the British Council. That's the common one. So the IELTS, you haven't done the IELTS and you don't have at least a 6. I say a 6. The ideal would be 6.5, 7 or higher for the overall band. So you haven't done the IELTS. You haven't done the process to get your foreign education or your foreign credentials assessed to see what the equivalent is for Canada. So that you haven't invested in that. If you also speak French, you haven't done the TEF, which is the standardized French testing as well, to prove to an employer or potential employer in Canada that you really are Canadian job ready. So you haven't done the IELTS, you haven't done the TEF, which is the French test, you haven't gotten your education assessed for equivalency in the Canadian marketplace or economic marketplace, and you haven't created an express entry profile. So really quickly, the Express Entry Profile is the management system and tool that the Government of Canada, the Department of Immigration, has been using since January 2015. We're now in year 2 going on, how to basically manage the pool of potential candidates for immigration. So if you haven't created a profile, again, you are not Canadian job ready. So you're not prepared. So number one is that number one mistake that I see is that you haven't done the research on, like I said, the jobs, where are the jobs that relate to your skills in Canada. Number two is you're not prepared And number three is something fell. What I see is number three, what I really see most often, and it is how people in my group or people who are hearing and knowing about my Facebook presence that I've been doing for the last year or so, um, really is inappropriate interactions with me. Now, although I may not be your Canadian employer, what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from people who either contact me via Facebook or contact me via email related to my first 2 points is that they're not prepared, they haven't done the research, and they're sort of just spamming me and sending me like sort of mass kind of emails like, give me a job, referring to me, which I would call, and I've posted about this before from a Canadian perspective, in inappropriate ways, calling me sugar, calling me honey, calling me ma'am, which I know in some, situations it's a sign of respect. But like I said, if you're looking to connect to Canadian employers who may need your skills and you would like to approach them for possibly, supporting your immigration goals and your career goals in Canada, if you haven't done the research, if you're not prepared, and then on top of that, you're making what I would call the deadliest mistake of all, is really sending out very inappropriate messages of what I would call, desperation, and just really showing that you are nowhere near ready to for that employer to even consider you for a job. By like sending them messages like that, you are basically killing your job search. Like, that's it from step one, not even step one. So really, I wanted to pop in on the live stream to kind of just really emphasize those top three. I see others, but really the top three mistakes that I do see is that you really do have to do your research. There is no magical sort of pill or no magical solution that anybody, including myself, can just sort of sell you or give you to find a magical job in Canada. It's just not going to happen. It's supply and demand. There are just way too many people who want to get here, and it's only going to be the best and the brightest, however the government deems that, and however you can be part of that best and brightest, right? So whether you have the right skills and whether you've, again, utilized all the resources to get in front of a Canadian employer who may, like I said, need your skills, and then who may support your Canadian migration goals and your career goals. So basically, like I said, doing the research, being prepared, and that again, it's interlinked to the research and actually making the time, the effort, investing that to try to achieve your goals in Canada. And like I said, number three is really the inappropriate interactions, the way I'm interacting with some people that have reached out to me. Sometimes I reply. More often than not lately, I'm just basically blocking and deleting you. If you're sending me, and if you have sent me emails, I'm not going to be naming names, or if you've messaged me like that, really the tip is, and anybody listening to this, obviously the people who have not sent me messages like this either are shy and or just know better, but really know that sending inappropriate kind of spam messages on Facebook and email, if this is a sign of how you will interact with a potential employer, a potential human resource person for a company, a potential recruiter in Canada, whether it's via direct email, whether it's via LinkedIn or any other kind of network out there, you're basically killing your job search from the get-go. So hopefully those tips are useful, and hopefully you pass them on to anybody else who's watching, anybody else who could benefit from this live stream. Please feel free to pass it on. And that said, I am going to be starting basically probably a weekly, regular, yes, not probably, I will be starting a weekly show. I'm going to announce the details on my business page and on my in my group, Immigrating to Canada Strategies for Success. And I really want to just make it a conversation, and I want to bring in guests who can give, again, people who are watching, who will watch, basically tips and strategies on how to maximize their chances for success in Canada. So hopefully that was helpful. Again, I'm going to be back. I've got more tips. Hi, Felix. I think you're the only one watching this live. And we're going to talk, I think it's May 1st when we booked our chat. So so that was it. So those are my 3 tips for today. I have many more that I want to share, and again, I want to be starting I will be starting a weekly show, and I'll announce the details. I'm going to try to figure out what the best time is for that, and the day probably midweek, like a Wednesday. I know I have a lot of people who follow me on my Facebook business page or on personal page, and in my group Immigrating to Canada Strategies for Success, who are in South Africa and Nigeria and all those, and India and all those places in the world. So very likely I will try to maybe do figure out a time where you might be able to catch me live. And if you can't catch me live, then you can always catch me. You can catch the replays, which again, I'll be going off of my business Facebook page. So that way the videos, I'm realizing all the things about Facebook as I'm going through, and as Facebook changes things, it's best to go off live off of my Facebook business page, so that at least the videos are kind of captured there and they're saved, and then I can repurpose them into emails to send out for people who might want to watch them and find them easier than through the Facebook platform. So that's it. Have a wonderful Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Happy Easter to those who celebrate. And that is all for now. I'm signing off. Thanks.